your go-to podcast for the latest insights in the mortgage industry. Join us as we dive into expert advice, unveil actionable tips, and learn how to empower the next generation of home buyers. Get ready to elevate your knowledge and make those property dreams a reality. Let's get started. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mortgages and More podcast. I am Kyle Draper here with Brian View and a very special guest today. I'm excited to jump in because I do not think it's going to be the conversation you might think it will be. And so, Brian, why don't you tell everybody who we're talking to today?
Love it. Kyle, good to see you again, buddy.
Yes, sir.
We are joined today by Connor Bartley. Connor's with Loan Depot. And I think it's important to frame how Connor and I connected, because this is really becoming the theme of these conversations around community and relationship building. And so Connor and I have never met face to face, although we see each other face to face every day on LinkedIn. Right. Connor, you're one of the you're definitely out there, and your content really got my attention. And what I took away from watching you and following you on LinkedIn is, I think you and I are of the same mindset that this business is all about relationship building and nurturing relationships, and not about selling anybody. And so we connected. I asked you to come on and kind of share your story, because I think what you do in your day-to-day business and how you're doing it on LinkedIn, everybody in our audience can learn from and apply it to what they do in their business. So this is not a Loan Depot sponsored episode. This is not,
but it can be if they want to give us any money.
It can be, yes. We won't.
Who do we need to talk to about that?
We won't even charge as much as the Miami baseball team. So,
well,
Connor,
thanks guys
welcome.
for having me on. Yeah, I'm flattered to be here. I think it's great that we're having these conversations, and ready to chop it up with you guys. So, I appreciate the opportunity to have the platform.
Here's where I want to start, man.
Sure.
So, I remember when you and I first started communicating on LinkedIn, and of course, somebody starts commenting on stuff and you're like, who is this? Mm-hmm. You jump into their profile to kind of get an idea. And most recruiters that I have come in contact with on the interwebs, they can't scream at you loud enough from the top of their page, right? That's like, I'm here to recruit you. And so I'm looking at yours, and you don't even mention the name of your company until you're like 50 words deep at the top of your page.
Right.
And so I want you to talk us through, like, in an industry where most people are just trying to go, I guess I need to scream louder. I guess I need to get closer to somebody's ear and just keep beating them with my messaging. You have chose a much different approach. Have you always been this way? Was there an evolution? Like, kind of tell us this story.
Yeah. So no, I haven't always been this way. It's one of my biggest regrets is that, I used to be someone who screamed at you. I mean, I'll own that. And what I have sort of come to in the evolution of things is I'm so much more than just a recruiter, right? Like, at the end of the day, yeah, I don't even know exactly what it says, but I know it starts with Christ follower,
family
volleyball
man,
dad, family
volleyball
man,
dad,
2-time pie eating contest winner.
That's right.
Like,
yeah.
There's so much more to me than just being a guy who's going to cram down your throat the company I work for and why you should work here, right? And over time, I've just come to this realization that, value matters. And I would much rather prefer to be someone worth knowing than someone who's going to argue with you about where you should work.
Yeah.
And there's such a stigma out there in this industry in particular about recruiting, because that has been the attitude of a lot of people in the past, that it makes it difficult to build genuine connection. And so I'm hoping that with what I can bring to the platform on LinkedIn, that I can break down those walls before I ever talk to somebody, right? And that they have some sense of who I am before we connect, and that as I've gotten more involved on LinkedIn, I'm having people reach out to me, which is a great change of pace.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, it's been an evolution, and I've commented about that before, and I really do wish that I had done it differently in the very beginning, but that's life, right?
What
You
was
learn as you
that?
go.
Was there a turning point where you were like, whoa, I've been doing this different, like bad? Or was it just like a natural progression?
Yeah, I think it was more of a natural progression. I couldn't really point to one specific moment, but I think over time, I just felt more comfortable having conversations with people about other things and starting from that place versus, jumping right in. Like, it's a lot coming at you if you answer the phone and someone says, "You want to change jobs?" Like, that is a life-changing decision. So,
Yeah.
having somebody come at you out of the jump with that, or like you keep options open, that's a lot. And we don't go shopping at department stores hardly ever anymore as a culture, but I always relate it to that. You walk into Macy's and the clerk walks over to you and says, "Hey, can I help you find something?" And I think we all automatically default to say, "No, I'm just looking."
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And we just blow that guy off, poor guy. But so when I make a call and I say, "Hey, you keeping your options open," everybody's immediate answer is, "No, I'm happy where I'm at." Right. So I just got to a point where I was kind of tired of saying that and wanted to create more conversation about things that mattered. And so I had to evaluate what it was, my level of knowledge, right? What could I bring to the table, and do the homework on my end to bring some things of value that we could actually talk about, that would be relevant to a loan officer, that would be worth staying on the phone for 10 minutes. And then as we got to know each other, naturally those conversations start to take place, because now it's about, "Oh, that's what you do? Oh, well, tell me more." And but we can break down those initial barriers of like, "Dude, you're coming at me pretty strong, and I'm not in that frame of mind. So let's call me in 6 months," right? And that's like the death blow to the recruiter. So just try to avoid that as much as possible and build relationship and get to know people, because at the end of the day, they're not just a loan officer. Like, I'm not just a recruiter. Like, there's things that they have in their lives that matter a lot more than their job. And
That's good.
and those are the things that I'm more interested in knowing about anyway. Because like I said, kind of pre-show, like my new philosophy of recruiting is, not everyone is a fit, but everyone can be a friend. And if I'm starting from that place,
I love that.
then the fits will find me, right? And like, it'll just sort of naturally come up of like, "Oh yeah, this is a good fit. Let's move forward."
So by the way, that's the same, that applies the same way for loan officers that are having conversations in their communities with prospective home buyers and customers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love these conversations that we're having, because while none of us slings loans every day, we're all in the relationship business, and we're all building relationships for our businesses, right? And we're all doing it in slightly different ways. And so to learn from how you had that aha moment and made that move from the shouter yeller to, like, before we hit record, we were talking, and my perception of you, Connor, on LinkedIn is you're not a recruiter, you're a relationship builder. And because I can see what you're doing, I see how
Mm-hmm.
you're engaging and interacting, and even our interactions have been all about building a relationship. So
Mm-hmm.
these are the conversations that we think loan officers need to hear, because they can take these lessons and apply those to how they're building their business and how they're building relationships and
Right.
having more conversations in their communities.
Connor,
There
how
wasn't
do
a
you?
question.
I was giving you a sec to see if you're going to ask one. And
No, that was a bad co-host moment.
So, Connor, how do you decide? Because a lot of people, right, where what they struggle with is what I know most is what I do every day, which is my business.
Mhm.
And so naturally, like that's just the easiest thing to talk about. How do you choose? Because I saw on LinkedIn, like you're doing 100 podcasts in 100 days.
Right.
And so you're spotlighting other people's podcasts, right? Because I may not know it. I find out about it because of you. Now I think about you every time I listen to it.
Right.
Where do you get your ideas? Are you just stealing them from other people?
Sure.
Kind of unpack your brain for how that develops.
Yeah. So for me, it started with the High Five Fridays. Bam. Right. And that actually was an idea that was it was a seed planted in my head by Michael Kelleher,
Okay.
who during COVID was doing these coffees on the porch. I can't remember what he called them, but he actually tagged me in a post of his, and he and I had never talked. I kind of knew who he was because I'd seen some of the things he posted before, and I just thought it was a cool idea. Like he was having just sort of these conversations with himself when he was doing that, but he would see interesting posts that were thought provoking to him, and he gave some commentary on that. So fast forward like 2 years, and I'm actually working with some of the loan officers in the region that I support, and I'm just like, guys, let's all have a week of just posting on LinkedIn. I think it'll be a cool thing. And I said on Friday, everybody, let's give a shout out to somebody that you just say thank you, right? Like give them a high five. And that went over well, and people enjoyed doing it. And then I thought to myself, you know what? Let's make that a rolling thing, right? And so the next Friday, I gave a high five to some good content, and then I just started to expand it out to everyone, right? Like initially, it was like it was a Loan Depot thing, hey, high five to this guy at Loan Depot and this post from Loan Depot and then I thought, you know what? But everybody's posting good content.
Yeah.
Why? Just put it in that box. Let's just highlight everyone, and then I want the High Five Fridays to be encouraging for other people to do their own content, to keep doing good content. And I've gotten a few just private messages from folks that are like, hey man, I appreciate that you do that. It helps me find other people that are putting out good things. And I want to be inspired. I want LinkedIn to be a platform that helps me learn new things. And there's just so much great like free coaching out there that, that I'm like, why not? I mean, let's get it out to the masses, and let's help the industry get better as a whole. So the High Five Fridays is where that began. And then, like I said before, if I want to continue growing as a person worth knowing, I need to grow in my own level of knowledge. And so I said, let's kick it up a notch. 100 podcasts in 100 days. Let's listen to industry podcasts, get to know more about the industry, and some good coaching and some marketing tips and just things that I can share. And I'm already picking up some really great things. I'm like a week in, and some of the ideas and the things that I'm learning are great, and I don't think I'll ever originate, but I feel like I've already have some good tools for it. So
Sure.
but it's it's a fun journey. I think everybody should put themselves through something like that, because you do learn a lot and you get exposed to a lot of different things that maybe you hadn't thought about. So
Well, and I want to make sure the listeners understand, what I just heard you say, right? When you talked about seeing High Five Friday from, or well, they didn't call it that, or maybe they did call it that. I don't remember how you said it, but you got it from someone else.
Mhm.
And most people, they don't enjoy using other people's ideas because it makes them feel like they're not good enough to come up with their own.
Right.
And the goal ends up being that they're validated versus giving value to other people.
Mhm.
And so I just want to commend you on like just having that willingness and really like that servant's heart to say, I just want to put good stuff in front of good people. I don't care if it's my idea or Brian's idea. If it will add value, I'm going to leverage it. And it just makes everything content, which is what I don't think a lot of people understand. So kudos to you, man,
Thanks. Appreciate it.
For doing that at a really high level.
And by the way, I'm seeing the High Five Fridays. Thanks for my virtual high five. That was cool. I was super pumped to get it, but I had not seen it anywhere else. So for me, and probably a lot of people that are seeing the content, they're seeing it for the first time. And so whether you came up with it or not, it doesn't matter. I saw it the first time I saw something like that was when you were doing it. And I think for loan officers, especially, that's our target, audience here. My little mental takeaway from what you just described, Connor, was in my community as a local, mortgage advisor, local financial expert, I could be highlighting other people in my community, other businesses in my community, other interesting things, people, products in my community in the same way that you're doing what you're doing on this bigger community
I'm starting
stage.
High Five Friday tomorrow. So,
hey, I would,
everyone
for anyone
knows.
listening to this, I hope everyone starts a High Five Friday. Like, I own it. Like, take it. Like, I think it's so good. You can do your own version of it. Like High
Out
Five
Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, high five local restaurants in your area. High five more mortgage professionals. Like,
You know what? I might actually do Fist Bump Friday.
There you go.
And let me encourage everybody. Like, when I do my post tomorrow, like Connor, I will be tagging you in it, right? Thanking you for coming on the show, for talking about this idea. And then I'm going to tag the person that is going to be my first Fist Bump Friday. And so everybody wins, right? It's the tide that raises all ships.
Right.
Because what I hate is when I just get tagged in people's random crap.
Right.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And so when we do it appropriately, now we're actually connecting people. That the reason y'all now know each other is because of me, which now elevates me. It just works in everybody's favor. And so this might be one of the highlights of the entire season of this show because of the simplicity of it. And it always gives you something to post every single week.
Yeah. And to Brian's point, and to use it at the loan officer level, I mean, they could easily high five agents, right? High five their title reps, high five anybody that is in their circle. And it just brings, everybody. Listen, you guys obviously know this because you're content creators, but people at first are very insecure about what they're posting and who's going to see it. Will they like it? Well, is it good enough? Whatever. So having somebody come out and support it and say, that was awesome, and share it to other people, like, it's instant validation. It encourages them to keep doing it. And like, not everything that I highlight is this mainstream post that's liked by 100 people. Like, I love to get the posts out there that are generating a lot of conversation. But I also sometimes like to highlight the random person that I've never seen post before, and they were brave enough to do it. And I just want to say, I see you. I think it's awesome that you stepped out of the comfort zone to do that, and keep doing it, because people want to hear what you have to say. And if you can become part of the conversation just by speaking up, right? And so I want to encourage people to do that. But yeah, I think loan officers could use that in a million different ways. It's a simple idea. So,
Brian, can I ask our last question
Please.
Of the episode?
Please.
I feel like I've dominated this episode, so
it's all good,
next
man.
Episode, I'm gonna tape my mouth shut and I won't say anything.
Actually, I'm learning and taking notes here, so you guys are awesome.
Connor, this is a two-parter.
Okay.
So the first part is, I'd love to get your insight from a recruiter to a recruiter that may be listening. What would be a tip or trick or word of encouragement that you would give to other recruiters, just in your knowledge? Then the second part is, how would you encourage an LO to respond differently to the recruiters reaching out to them that they may not be doing right now?
Okay. So first, to the recruiters out there, I would say work on building community with other originators. Start at that place. Like, find a way to bring people together and be that connector. And then continue following up with value to the people in your community. Um, you could ask 8 people to jump on a Zoom with you and say, we're going to talk about, uh, you know, listen to a podcast, get a great idea, right? And say, we're going to chop up this podcast. Everybody listen to this, and then we'll get together next week on a Zoom, and we're going to talk about it, right? Like, do a book club, do some things that could bring some real value to the audience that you are talking to, and that you can build some real relationship with them along the way. Because the return on that is going to be, people see that you're building community with others, and then they'll want to be a part of that community. And you can say, well, let's build another group, because I don't want this thing to get too big. Like, it's great at 6, 8 people. Let's build another one. You got any other friends that would want to join? And now you suddenly have something that you're a part of, instead of being kind of the recruiter on the outside trying to force their way in, right? Also, like, I will screenshot good LinkedIn posts and text them to people that I frequently stay in touch with, just to say, hey, I thought you could get something of value out of this. Wanted to share it with you. I thought it was a really cool, tidbit of information, right? And I get a lot of real positive returns on that. But it's not me cramming in, almost 10% of the time it's a Loan Depot post, right? It's always something else. And so so I think that would be my advice to recruiters. As far as loan officers are concerned and the way they respond, that's a difficult question to answer, because the problem is, a lot of times, and what recruiters need to realize is, a lot of times when you call, you're interrupting something.
Mm-hmm.
And so they may have been on the other line with a realtor talking about a loan in process, saw a phone number they didn't know coming in, and said, let me get this. And then suddenly it's, hey, I'm the recruiter from such and such company. Like, and then that's when you get the just the death sigh, right? Like, oh gosh, this is going nowhere. So so you have to understand that when you're recruiting, but also, to the loan officers, like, there's a lot of value that recruiters can offer you. So just immediately dismissing can cost you valuable information. Like, I realize that you may be comfortable where you are with the situation that you're in. You know who you're dealing with and who to call when you have a problem, and you're happy with this or that. But you have to also understand that it's not the same everywhere. And there are small differences, or maybe some bigger differences, from one company to another that might make a huge impact on your particular business. And that's one thing I've learned in recruiting, is that every loan officer has a very unique set of circumstances that drive their business. It could be the financial demographic of their market that makes them need a particular product, or various things, right? Or maybe they're working with agents that are real into, high-end marketing and things like that. So being aligned with a company that's going to be able to support the marketing needs, and, different things like that, right? Like, so don't assume that everything's the same, because I know on the surface it sounds the same.
Yeah.
Because the recruiting pitch in mortgage is stale. It is, we got good tech, we close loans on time, you name it, right? Like, we've heard it 1,000 times before. Our rates are competitive, comp is good. It all sounds the same. But, find somebody that you know will have your best interest in mind, and have a conversation with them. Even if it's not a recruiter, call a loan officer at a different company, and just kind of, poke around a little bit.
It's good, man.
Love it, Connor. You did not disappoint, man. I love your perspective. Again, everything started on LinkedIn with the content that you're putting out. Keep doing you. Thank you for the great insights. I think everyone's got some takeaways from this conversation. Everybody should be following Kyle now for the Fist Bump Fridays. That's another big takeaway that we have. So Connor, thanks again for joining us. As always, Kyle, it's great to spend time with you on this little podcast we're doing.
Yes, sir.
And for everybody
Thanks,
else,
Connor.
we'll see you back here next week. Peace.
Awesome. Appreciate it.